I'm Alex from MUD.clayplay in Byron Bay, here to do a tiny vase tutorial for you for Auguste the label, which I'm very excited about. So thanks for having me. So what we want to do is just double check that you've got all your bits and pieces. So some of you might have purchased the Auguste toolkits on the website, and some of you might even have a little bit of air dry clay. So that's actually the reason that we're doing tiny vases at the moment, is because they're perfect for air dry clay, but also for kiln fire clay. So you want to make sure that you've got your mud and also your toolkits. If you don't have your toolkits, don't even worry about it. You can replace them, and I'll tell you what within a tick. So actually, this one, we'll start with him because he's my favourite. This one is actually a trimming tool, but really, really good for creating some cute little grooves in the clay and great for decorating. So highly recommend. This one is super good for scoring your work. I'll tell you what that is later. Great for joining. And then we've got our little joining guy here, which is perfect for when you're actually wanting to join some handles. Earlier on today, this one actually had a swirly handle and then, had some technical difficulties and it fell off the table and broke. But don't even worry about it. Maybe it wasn't supposed to have a swirly handle. That's fine. But I will show you how to do a swirly handle. Then we've got this little guy and the cylinder with, let's call it a rainbow handle. Why not? You also want a little bit of water as well, so it doesn't have to be in a spray bottle. It's great if it's in a spray bottle though, because it's just super easy to actually re-wet your clay. So when your clay is exposed to the air or your hands, kind of wicks away some of the moisture, and it can crack, which is really normal, both for air dry clay and for kiln fired clay. Normal for it to crack, so we want to make sure that we've got enough moisture in your clay, but not too much. You want to make sure that perhaps you've got like a little bowl, just because we're actually going to be creating our glue to attach our handles and everything that we need to with a little bowl. We've also got a rolling pin. That's going to be really important for this little guy here. If you don't have a rolling pin, don't even worry. You can just use your wine bottle, or you could even use, you could use a vase, you could use any sort of cylindrical object, is not a worry. And then I really like to have just a little bit of fabric as well. This is really important so that the clay doesn't stick to your table. And last but certainly not least, have a drink. Cheers. I've actually got kombucha. It's fantastic. You can have wine, you can have whatever you want. So one of the things that I love about clay is, other than the fact that we walk on it every day, it's just quite meditative to play with. You can play with it for like 20 minutes, and I know for me it just calms me down like nothing else. But it comes from the center of the earth, comes out through a volcano, and then sets itself in the ground. And it picks up a lot of minerals and a lot of impurities along the way, much like what we do. And it is impacted by external pressures and shapes and shifts and molds to its external environment. So I think that's kind of like us, and especially in this time, we're having to kind of shape and shift and mold to what's going on. So let's get started. First things first, let's start with an easy one. I find this one quite easy, the cylinders. So you can do this in a little tiny version, which is what I'm going to show you now. Or you can do it in a really quite a big version as well. So you can see up behind me here, that's a larger version, similar to what we're making. So our first technique is going to be using a slab. So I'm actually going to move my board. So if you're using a board, you can just use your breadboard, no worries. Or any board really that's not going to absorb too much of the moisture of your mud. So, pop that little guy there. Great. Now, how much do I want of my board? I'm probably just going to use like a third. Just going to rip that off. And what I recommend you guys do is actually cover your mud when you're not using it. Otherwise, it will really quickly dry out. So, put mine over here. Now, you want to make sure as well that your clay doesn't actually have any air bubbles in it. If it does, it can, and you are using kiln-fired clay, it can actually blow up in the kiln, which has happened before, but not great, not your ideal, not exactly what you want. So we want to remove the air bubbles when you are rolling it out. Now, using a rolling pin can be actually really good for that, so let's go for it. When you're rolling out your clay, you want to make sure that you're having an even pressure and actually doing a lot of your work in the middle of the clay. If you start to roll it out on the edges, then it can get quite thin. So we want to have a pretty consistent thickness all the way through what you're rolling out. And I'm going to say like a little over 1/2 centimetre, okay? But no one's going to die if it's a little over or a little under. Don't even worry about it. So, you know, this is thirsty work, so have a drink, have a bite of your cheese if you've got a cheese board. Well done, by the way. Now, what I also love about clay is that you can never get too attached to a particular result. So whatever you envision that it's going to actually look like, it's probably not going to look like that, which is fine because sometimes it looks even better or it's just as beautiful. And another good thing about clay is if you don't love it, you can just roll it up and start again. Highly malleable entity, which is fabulous. So I'm just really going to get in here and put a bit of my weight into it. So, how thick am I now? I'm probably going to want it to be a little bit thinner than that actually, because I don't want my tiny vase to be too chunky. So I've picked it up and turned it around because I actually want to make it a little bit wider. So you want the width so you can actually make it into the coil that you're aiming for. And if you guys want to actually just go free range, go for it. That's the nice thing about this. You can be completely experimental. And you're at home. Nobody can see you. Do what you want. Okay. How am I traveling? See, this is the good thing about using these. You can just peel your clay off so easily, whereas if it's on a board or something like that, it can actually be really hard to get off. So that's a pretty good width there. There you go. Do you like my sunflowers? How cute are they? Alrighty. So now what I can do is I can use my scoring tool And now we're getting into the using of the tools. I'm going to let you know what else you can replace these with if you don't have a toolkit. So you can actually just get a knife, a spoon, and also a fork from your kitchen drawer. That is not a worry at all. It's going to pretty much function the same as all of these. So no need to get upset if you don't have a toolkit. Now, I mean, you can use a ruler for this, but I love wonky things. I think they're the absolute best because I think we're all just a little bit wonky and, you know, we don't have to be perfect. None of us do. So my vase is just going to be a little bit free form. So I'm going to actually cut it into a rectangular shape so that I can fold it around on itself and create my cylinder. So I want it to be pretty even, Stevens. Let's see how we go once I've cut my rectangle. See, there you go. This is going to create a cute, really, really tiny vase. So I'm just going to spray all of my scraps over here that I've cut off because I'm actually going to use them in a tick for the rainbow handle that we'll do. Now, I'm going to spray this because once I start to manipulate it around, it's just going to crack a little bit, really, really normal. We're going to smooth that out with our fingers in a tick. Oof, mine's cracking heaps. That's okay. So what I want to do, as you can see, I'm about to join it here, but I can't actually join it without scoring it first because it's just going to kind of pull apart in the kiln. You want to create a really porous surface along the edge here, both edges actually, so it can really lock together. So you don't have to be pretty about that either. Just go for it. Just a little bit of a crosshatch. No one's going to see this part because these edges are just going to be joining together. So, you know, just go for gold. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just lightly join these into my cylinder, but then I'm going to need to use my joining tool as well to really help me out with that. So you can see that I've created, quite the cylinder there. You can also see how many cracks are in that. So before I even go any further, I'm actually going to start massaging out my cracks really lightly. If I press too hard, then it's going to squash my cylinder and I don't want that. So again, one of the nice things is just to really feel out the clay. If you've got big cracks, don't worry about it. Just massage it out with your fingers. Just really massage all of that out. And eventually the cracks will start to rejoin and reform. And you can go in a circular motion now, so you're really massaging the clay into all of those little cracks, little morsels that are opening up there. We just want to rejoin. So when it dries, when it starts to dry out, it just doesn't re-crack. Don't want that. So some of you might even have like a little cloth that you can use to do this. I really enjoy doing it with my fingers because it's quite a somatic kind of exercise. Really calming, dropping you from your, sympathetic kind of fight or flight into your parasympathetic, rest and repair, calm state. Cool. So mine is much less cracked now. How are you guys going? So you can see here that I haven't properly joined this, and if I didn't properly join that, it would just split apart. So I'm actually going to use my joining tool, or you can use your spoon, and you can use the curved part of your spoon to actually pull the mud or the air dry clay, whatever you're using, across here. You can also use your fingers for this. I enjoy using this tool because I can really pull it across. And we're going to be using this tool for the inside as well. So just pulling your clay across. You can do a little cross hatch motion as well if you want. And just smoothing that out. So we really want it to lock together so it can just be a cylinder. I'm doing kind of an up and down motion here now so that I can smooth all of this out. And then get rid of any of the clay on here that I'm not keen on. And then I can use the tiniest bit of water just to really, again, like you did before, just caress your clay. Massage it out to create the cylinder shape that you're after. And once again, you can do this on a really big scale, like a really grand scale. This is also a really good technique for your mugs, for example, or large. You can do it for bowls too. You can do it for all sorts. A slab cylinder can be manipulated into any shape that you want. Cool. So in the center of this, I haven't actually joined this properly, so I'm going to do that with this tool now. Again, you can use your spoon as well. So I'm just going to try pulling the clay across, applying a little bit of pressure when I'm doing that so it does actually pull it across. So we'll do that at the top to begin with, and then at the bottom, just pull it all into the center, and then I can just really go like this just to smooth that out. But no one's really going to see so much in the center of this. You just want to make sure that it's joining properly, that's all. Now that you have hopefully created your cylinder, you want to make a bottom for it. So you might even have a bit of one of your scraps left that you can use for the base, which I do. So I place this on top of this scrap here, and then I can use my knife or my scoring tool just to actually trace around my cylinder so I can create the base for it. Should have probably put my hair up for this. Also, if you've got a cheese board, just try not to get all of your crumbs in the clay as well. Now you can see this looks attached, it's not. So we're actually going to have to use the same technique of scoring to attach this. So because my clay is really quite wet, I don't need to use a slip. The slip is the glue, which I'm going to make with you in just a second so we can do our rainbow handles. So not only do I score that surface, I also score this surface here. Once again, you don't have to be pretty about it. It can be very imperfect. So what I love about all of this stuff is how individual, we're all going to be making this together, following the same instructions, and we're all going to come up with something kind of different, which is pretty cool. So you can use your finger here. I like using my finger for this one because I like to create a kind of curved base here, and I'm just pulling the clay up onto my cylinder so I can attach my base to my cylinder. And then just wiping away what I don't want, really. Perfect. Okay. There we go. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, again, I like to kind of run my finger along the bottom here to create a bit of a curved edge. There you go. So you've actually just made, nearly finished, but made your cylinder hot. And you can attach any handle that you want to attach. I'm just going to show you one that I love, just the little rainbow handle. And up the top here, you want to make sure that you're running your hands along so you've actually got a curved edge and you don't have a sharp edge. If you've got kiln-fired clay, it's going to become sharper in the kiln. And also, whatever you make is going to reduce by about 20%. So if you want a really particular size of something, just make sure you're making it around about 20% bigger than what you want your desired end result to be. Very important to hydrate as well. Yum. So I'm just going to put this little guy to one side because now we're going to do our rainbow handles. So before you spray your little scraps, we're just going to pull off like a little guy, like real small. And we're going to create a little sausage, like a little worm or a coil, whatever you want to call it. Now, to create a coil, I actually start with my fingers in the center of the coil, and I really gently, only applying the tiniest amount of pressure, bring it out. If you press on it too hard, it's just going to squash the clay, which is a bit grim. It's not what you want. And we're going to start with the tiniest handle first. So as you can see, I've created a tiny handle there out of my little worm. Now, I'm going to just press the ends down slightly. The reason that I'm doing that is so I can create little feet here, because that's actually going to help heaps when I'm trying to attach this to my cylinder. I'm going to leave that little guy there because we want to make sure that he is, kind of solid enough to attach to there. Now we want to make our next one. It's exactly the same. We're just grabbing a little bit more. It's going to be a bit dry. We're just grabbing a little bit more clay to work into the cylinder or the worm, coil, whatever you want to call it. Call it whatever you want. And again, starting from the middle and working your way out. So for these, you can do what's called your round coil, or you can do a flat coil as well. A flat coil is just when you have kind of something like that and you're creating that sort of shape for your handle with it. So we're doing the cylindrical circular. You can also create the flat. That'd look actually really cool. I hope somebody does that. Ooh, and share your stuff as well. Whatever you make, please show me. I'm at MUD.clayplay on Instagram. I would love to see your little creations. I think it's so cool that everybody makes something so totally different. And again, you don't have to be good at it. That's not the point. That's not the point at all. The point is to just have a bit of fun with it. Just do something a little bit different. So I'm going to cut this to size now. I'm going to do exactly the same as what I did on my first one, create kind of little feet. The reason I'm making all of these before I join them to this little guy is so I can make sure that they're the right size. Now, next, I'm going to grab an even bigger bit of my scraps so that I can create a bigger coil. My biggest coil, you can see here on the rainbow one, I've got 3. You can do 4, you can do 5, do whatever you want. You can do 1. Just use your creativity or do exactly the same, whatever. I've chosen to make mine a pretty similar coil size. And keeping it in check so that the coils are actually pretty much the same all the way along. Whoop, this guy's a little bit bigger on one hand, so I'm just going to roll that out a tiny bit more. Then, great, I can cut him to size. Again, creating the little feet. The reason I'm creating the feet is so it attaches easier. So this is quite literally mud. So when it dries, it's still mud and it is really, really fragile. So if I flicked this, it'd just fall off. So make sure that you are actually drying it in a place that's out of the elements. So out of direct sun, out of air conditioning flow or wind. You just want kind of a cool, dry place for them to completely dry out before you take it to get kiln fired. The reason you want to keep it out of the elements is so that you can actually control it drying out really evenly. So for example, if I had sun on this edge of my coil pot, this edge would dry and this edge would stay wet. That's actually going to create a crack in my vessel. I've had that happen before as well. It's a bit grim when you're excited about picking your thing up from the kiln and it's cracked. I mean, imperfect things are still very beautiful, but to avoid that, if you don't want to crack, then just make sure that you're drying it out in a cool, dry place inside, no worries. It'll take maybe a week to dry these little guys, depending on how thick you're doing the clay. All right, so how are you guys going? I've got my three little coils here. And what I'm going to do now is start attaching. I'm going to start with my little guy first. And what I need to do, exactly what we've done beforehand, is actually score the feet here. The reason I'm scoring is because I want to make sure that it's a porous edge so that it can properly attach. I'm going to do the same with the feet of the other two. And where we're attaching it on here, we're actually going to make sure that we score those bits as well. I told you earlier that I was going to be making a little bit of slip. I've just put a little bit of scrap clay in here and I'm going to chuck a bunch of water in there. This is our glue for our butter. It's going to be like the consistency of a butter, not a frozen butter, but just, a room temperature butter. So you want to be able to actually just make that a real mud glue consistency. Sometimes it takes a little while to combine it. And we're going to use this for the attaching. And you want to create a little bit of this because you can use it for your other vessels as well. And if it gets a little bit dry, you just add a bit more water and mix all of that in. Cool, I reckon we're ready. So I'm going to use this to actually add the little bits of hard. Little bits of slip, sorry, to the ends of the retro. Now I'm just going to test where I want it on here, so probably about there. So I'm going to score where I'm placing these and actually just attach by pressing it in gently, still with a little bit of force, but pressing that in gently to my cylinder. And then I'm going to use my spoon edge or this little guy, and I'm going to start to really gently join. So pull at the handle, pull some of that clay at the foot onto your cylinder, onto your vessel to actually join this. You want to keep going all the way around until you have just reinforced that a little bit so it's stronger. So you've got 3 things working for you. You've got the slip, which is your glue. You've got the scoring, which creates a porous surface for it to connect. And you've got your joint, which is perfect. So we've got our first one there. Now we're just going to repeat that process. So I'm going to see where this goes. There, and do the same thing that I just did. Repeat that process. And just to make sure that these are not too wet. If your handles are too wet, they're going to kind of flop. So that's why you need to just leave them for just a little bit of time so they can solidify slightly. Then you'll be good to go. Look at that. Again, same process. Just join away all the way around. Now this little guy is going to be super fragile right now, but when it's drying out as well, which is fine. But maybe just keep it out of harm's way. Actually, earlier today, I've broken 3 of these already. So earlier today, the wind blew all of these off. This one had a swirling handle on it, and yeah, rip. But I made more because it's fun. So we've got 2, and now we're going to do 3. Now this is the most fragile because this is the one that can most likely droop. So you want to make sure that it is actually strong enough to bear its own weight. I think mine's fine for now. So you can see creating that little rainbow, and you can kind of manipulate these to make sure they're in line if you want them in line, and repeat the process again. We've been doing this for a little bit of time now. You could just kind of check in with yourself, like emotionally, where are you at? 1 to 10. How calm are you feeling? Or are you super frustrated that you can't get the handles on properly? The good thing is, once again, if it's not working for you, you can make it work for you. You can change it slightly so it does. Now, I use my fingers just to run along here, just to once again make it a little bit smooth, because I like it smooth. There we go. your first rainbow mug. Love it. So I'm just going to pop him there. And if this starts to droop, I'm going to make sure that I'm just building it up a little bit. So our next little guy is this one here. We're going to be using a pinch technique. So I'm just going to rip off about this much palmful of my ball. And I'm going to get you to just roll it into a cylinder. Just whichever way works. Doesn't need to be a perfect cylinder, just needs to be pretty cylindrical, pretty circular as best you can. Because what we're going to be doing is making 2 pinch pots, and we're going to be joining those pinch pots together to make him. So here is one pinch pot, and here is another pinch pot, and they've been joined together to make that shape. That might be a little bit too much clay. Take some off. Pretty good. So to do a pinch pot, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be pressing your thumb about 3/4 the way down in the center of your ball. And then you're going to be using your palm and you're going to be pressing and pulling up, pressing down and pulling up, spin, press down, pull up, spin. It's really normal for this to crack once again. You know, we're putting the clay under a little bit of stress, under a little bit of pressure. So it's a bit upset. But it will come to, I'm going to use a little bit more water on mine. Mine's cracking a little bit. Now, the important thing for this is I'm trying to create a little bit of a cylinder here already. So I'm pressing the clay out and pulling it up. Press the clay out, pull it up. I want to make sure that I am also keeping it pretty consistent, keeping the thickness pretty consistent all the way. I mean, it's not going to be the worst thing in the world if it's not super consistent, but it helps when it's in the kiln. So for cracking, all of that sort of stuff. But you've got a pretty consistent thickness. Now, my clay is getting a tiny bit dry, so I don't know how you guys are going over there. But remember to keep your clay that you're not using over here under a damp cloth or in the plastic. So you can just start to spin this around. Create the shape that you're after. And again, I'm going to start massaging this so I don't have any cracks that I don't want to have. Once again, it's perfect for you to use your sponge here. Now your sponge, I've got one. Something like this. Just heaps of water, wet the sponge. Perfect for you to use this to actually smooth out your clay. I really like using my fingers because I love to just touch the clay. Very cathartic. You can also just use this. So you see here, I have created a little one of these. I want to create another one. Pretty much the same. So I'm going to grab a bunch of my clay. roll them into a ball again. Now to make this, if you've got a lot of inconsistency here with the height, you can kind of just go like that to make sure it's pretty consistent all the way around, just for your joining. And we do exactly the same thing with this little guy here. So thumb pressing down in the center, and then just really gently twisting and pulling. Just a twist and pull action. So this is actually how you would pinch a pot, like pinch a small bowl or something. Like this is just the pinch method here. So you've learned the slab method, which we did for our first pot, our first tiny vase. Now we're doing the pinch method. So some of the bowls behind me have actually been pinched and coiled. So once you get pretty crafty at it, you can make bigger and bigger things, and it becomes quite easy after a while. So you can see here, I want to make sure that it's around about, it's like an egg, around about the same size, and it is, which is great for me. If it's not, if you need it bigger, just pull it a little bit bigger, really gently. You want to make sure that you've got around about the same. You see that I'm knocking it here again, because I want to be able to join it properly on here. Let me see, is that going to join? Yes, it is. So I want to make sure that I'm scoring, once again, both of the edges of this, so that it joins pretty perfectly. Fingers crossed. So I've got this bowl here and this little guy here. Now you can use your slip here if you want to, if you're worried about it not joining properly. I'm just going to try my luck. See how I go. Now I use, once again, my joining tool for this. So you can use your finger as well, so you can pull the clay down, but I use my joining tool. Just grabbing the clay and pulling it down or up, whichever way works. You just want to make sure that it's actually joining together pretty evenly. So the reason I'm holding mine up here is so you guys can kind of see, but it's pretty handy for you guys to actually have it down on the table to do this part, and then twist and just keep on doing the joining action all the way around. So I'm doing it up and down. So really normal for your egg, looks like an egg, to be quite lumpy, I suppose. That's fine. You don't want to press too hard here, or you're going to dent it or press it in, and we don't necessarily want that so much. So you could use this here as well. There's parts of mine that still need a little bit of joining. So this might take you a little bit of time just to make sure that all of it has properly joined. Because the joining is the integrity of the vessel. You want to make sure that you have created a solid joint so it doesn't just break apart. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut like the tiniest hole in the top. So like real tiny. I'm talking like real tiny. Just so it can breathe. And we're going to be creating this little part here. So another little cylinder, which we already know how to do. Oh, dogs barking. The joy of a home studio in a residential suburb in Byron Bay. My dog's actually under the table joining us. He's loving it. All right. So again, I'm rolling this out. I'm making it pretty. Yeah, making it really quite even. Yeah, really even. So that I can cut my rectangle. And again, I'm just free-forming this rectangle. It doesn't have to be perfect. You want it to be pretty good though. So now I am turning this around on itself to create exactly what we did with this guy over here, to create that coil so I can put that on top of there. Now once again, to do that, I'm just scoring along these edges. So always remember to score so it joins properly, not only on these two edges here, but on this edge so we can join it here too. And we are going to use slip to do the join for these shapes because it's quite small. Not too much, just the tiniest bit of glue that is coming here. We're just going off the edge off, no worries. Alright, so join that. Much like what we did before, so you can use your fingers here, or you can use your joining tool, your spoon, whatever you're using. And mine's cracking a little bit, so I'm going to do the whole massage technique again. Just twisting this around so I can again smooth out any of the sharp little edges up the top. I don't want to cut myself when I'm like putting flowers into it or something like that. So I'm pretty happy with that. So now I'm going to rescore. I'm going to figure out exactly where I'm going to put this guy. Like here, so it's kind of in the middle. Cool. So you can score this part as well. It's really important that you do have your hole here, what we did earlier, so that it can properly breathe when it's in the kiln and it doesn't blow up. We're going to put our glue here too, after the slip. Perfection. Now we chuck this one on the top. Apply a little bit of pressure once again. You know how much pressure to apply with how dry your clay is. And I am once again, same old, just gently attach. Spin around, touch again. And I'm going to use my finger to just make sure I'm happy with what the cylinder's doing there and smooth it out as well. Ooh. Very cute. The other reason why you want to make sure you've got your hole here is so you can actually put your dried flowers in it as well. The whole point of what you're making. Perfect. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a little trimming technique that creates a beautiful texture. Now usually what you can do is you can wait kind of like a day for this to set a little bit, because then to actually trim is easier to do. But I'm going to show you now because I'm not going to be sitting in your kitchen with you tomorrow, so I wish I was. So just kind of creating, as you can see, that if I press too hard, it's going to rip the clay. So I want to make sure that I'm just being relatively gentle with it as I'm creating these little grooves in the clay. Emptying your trimming tool. You can do this with a fork, you can do this with a spoon. Whatever you've got, you can create some cool little patterns. You can also create quite perfect grooves with this as well if you know, that's your flavour. But once this is glazed, it looks amazing. It looks really cool once the glaze is over all of this texture. You'll be amazed, trust me. Make sure that you're getting your excess clay off as you're going. All the way around. Oops. Grab that little bit of excess off. And just keep going till you're happy. I'm pretty happy with that. Really nice bit of texture on that little guy. You can leave him like that, or you can actually create a swirly handle. So this little guy here is just exactly the same as what we've done with this big guy here. The way we create our swirly handle is very exciting. Is we grab probably about that much clay, just a bit, and you want to again roll out a little sausage. Keep the same consistency again, just making sure that you are not pressing too hard and squashing it. So we need this one to be like a tiny bit longer so that we can create the shape that we're after. Or you might be creating a completely different shape. So this is really quite long. I've even taken off a bit too much. So again, we want to make this really consistent, the width of this. So just keeping in check as you're rolling it out where the width is at. Cool. That's pretty good, wouldn't you say? So now I'm going to figure out, okay, well, how do I want my swirly handle to look? I want there to be 3 little humps, like 3 little camel humps, like that. I want mine to be kind of go like that, like I had it before it fell to its death. If you get little cracks here on the edge, make sure that you actually just kind of, again, caress the clay a little bit, because as it dries, it will crack even further and we don't want that. So now what I'm going to do is the same attaching method as we always use, but I'm just going to check where I want everything to sit first. Yeah, I'm liking that. So I can just mark with my scoring tool or my fork or whatever you're using where the joins are, so I can make sure I'm scoring that. And I'm scoring each of the sections here that I'm joining 2. Again, doesn't need to be pretty at all. So as you can see, just do the little scoring here. And you can add your slip again. So for all handles, I recommend slip because they're finicky little things and they can fall off at any moment. So you want to make sure that you're giving them their best shot, you know? Now I'm going to apply the little bit of pressure again like I was doing earlier on all of the edges. See, this looked like that before. And I'm just going to manipulate it a little bit until I've got like the shape that I'm super happy with. Now, the people that are using BRT clay, so really important that you know that it's a BRT mid-fire clay for anybody that bought the Auguste MUD packs. Because the reason that that's important is because the people that you're going to fire your work, so depending on where you are in Australia, are going to need to know that because this clay is fired at about between 1,000 and 1,280 degrees. So if you bought the pack as well, you've also got your glaze, which is awesome. Okay. And you need to do your biscuit firing first. Your biscuit firing is your first firing, where it turns your mud to kind of like a stone. Once you've done your bisque firing, it's much less fragile. It's wicked all of the moisture away from your vessel, and your vessel will then be ready to actually glaze after that. So once you've done your bisque firing, now if you're not too sure where you can actually get a bisque firing done, then head on to the website www.mud.clayplay.com, and we have a full list all around Australia of where you can access kilns in your area. So you just need to contact them and they'll be totally happy to fire your shape. Very exciting. And once you've done your first firing, you can glaze. You should have the glaze instructions there as well. So it'll be about 3 coats of glaze, and then you take it back to the same place and you have your final glaze firing, and then that's where it's a finished product. How cool is that? Very fun. So that is how you pinch a pot or slab a pot. You can do any handles that you want. You just need to use the same technique of joining, especially with your slip. And you can do any sort of decorations that you want as well using your tools. I love how wonky hand building can be. We're all a little bit wonky. And I love that everyone's pieces are so different. So if you're using the air dry clay, just make sure that you are not putting water in it because it will reabsorb the water. You want to use, you can dry your own flowers. You can forage your native flowers and dry them. Some dry really well. And then you can pop them in your vessels and have something super cute. A little reminder of your isolation Auguste MUD tutorial. Thank you so much for having me, guys, and I hope you had a bit of fun. Okay, bye.